Welcome to episode 25 of the Tri-State Hockey Podcast presented by Novig. As always, I'm your host, Jonny Lazarus, joined by longtime NHL reporter Arthur Staple and Stanley Cup champion Mike Rupp. Arthur's got that big, fat, happy smile again because the Islanders have swept the season series against the Devils and the Rangers, and they officially own the Tri-State area. So clap it up to the New York Islanders. They deserve it. Good for them. We're not going to take any flowers away. And on the other side, it's horrible. It's so bad for both teams. Like I don't even know what to say. Rupper, help me here. What do you got?
Yeah, it's not good. That's it. It's bad.
It's so
bad. It's bad. I don't know, man. We'll get into it on this, but man, it's getting darker and darker as the days go by.
Yeah. So we have a lot of voicemails. Arthur, you know what? I'll give you a chance here. How good is it over there? The sun is like literally shining on your face right now.
That's right. I've got the bright light on here. And you guys should be more that's how we should do the lighting, is like how good the team's playing. You guys should just be like totally dim,
and
I'll just have as much radiating golden light as possible. I mean, the two games the Islanders had since we last did the show, Pitt and that's good, Robert. Pitt and Jersey last night, like they're not playing that well, and they're finding ways to win. And I kind of, sitting there watching the end of that game last night when it's 1-1, getting down to the last few minutes, it's like this is when good teams come up with points and bad teams come up with mistakes, and that's exactly what happened. And then flipping over the game that you were at, Johnny, it was like a mausoleum in there. Just through the TV, whatever the shot attempts were, 87-30 something by Carolina, and just no juice at all. So yeah, it's the Islanders are our best hope here on this podcast. I hope everybody, I'm sure Ranger and Devil fans won't hop on the bandwagon, but let's at least keep talking about everybody and keep it as positive as we can with the Isles.
Yeah. I mean, what I will say, honestly, though, Arthur, like conversations, as you know, like in the MSG press box, you go over and hang out like by like the rope area and the snack room. And, you kind of talk to fans, you mingle, whoever's there. I was talking to a couple of fans last night, just like, past that little rope section. And a lot of Ranger fans were saying like, at least we get to watch Matthew Schaefer. Like Ranger fans are actually drawn toward Matthew Schaefer. It's actually crazy, but like people just want to watch good hockey. And if you turn on an Islanders game, you're getting it. So we will start Rangers today. We have 5 Ranger voicemails. We have 2 Islander voicemails, and we have 3 Devils voicemails. So with the Rangers, Islanders, Devils, obviously the Panarin trade we have to talk about, break down, even though it's been discussed a lot the past few days, but we haven't really spoken about it, the 3 of us. So why don't we start with our first voicemail from one of our Ranger listeners, which is Nicole.
Just a quick reaction to the Panarin trade. Obviously underwhelming, was kind of prepared for that. I know fans are frustrated, especially when you look at it with Kreider and Panarin, 2 of the best Rangers in the last decade, to basically get 2 prospects and a few third-round picks and a fourth-round pick. It's pretty underwhelming, and you really would think that Panarin would at least get you a first-round pick. But all that aside, it's the extension that's the most puzzling. And I know, Johnny, you mentioned this in your reaction video that you posted, and I agree with everything you said. The extension he signed was a little bit confusing. It's like 2 years, $11 million sounds great for a retool, right? But I mean, to me, this just makes it even more clear Drury just wants to go in a different direction and didn't really want Panarin as part of that. So, yeah, could we have signed that and would it have made sense? Sure, but do we really want another player playing who's already been told that he wasn't going to be offered a contract extension just because it's now a fallback because he wasn't getting what he wanted from offers from other teams? Like, it's just kind of a sticky situation. But I am a little concerned with the direction now. It's like we have a huge hole on offense. Who's coming in and playing these minutes? To me, this just makes the potential trades of Trocheck and Schneider so much more important. We cannot miss on assets and roster-ready players and high draft picks.
Great voicemail from Nicole. The one thing I will point out, and again, like I've laid out pretty much all my emotions about this trade, so I really want to hear from you guys. But I think looking back, like, saying they dumped Kreider for nothing, like, a prospect and a pick and whatnot. Moving on from Kreider is what allowed them to get Gavrikov. Like, I think that should be kind of clear. So while this return for Panarin feels very underwhelming, which it is, but a lot of people expected that, what they do next could make up for the trade. Like if they go sign someone, and it's maybe not the Alex Tuck, because then you're just still remaining older, and Alex Tuck, great player, no disrespect to him, but I think the goal is to get younger. So whatever they do with the space that is now freed up next year, that's when maybe you can look back at this trade and say, okay, that's what we can kind of use as the return, if you want to look at it that way. Like that's maybe the positive spin. But I have a deeper thought that I'll save. I want to hear what your guys' initial thoughts were on the trade in general and the direction, I guess, the Rangers were going in from what Nicole said.
I'll jump in first. I get the reaction, and Johnny, your reaction too. You and Nicole seem to be in the same state of mind here, same tone of voice, same everything. I get it. I just feel like the expectations were not really set properly, and they don't have to come out and put it in the letter that like, hey, by the way, at a little PS, like we're not going to get much back for Artemi Panarin because he's got a no move and he wants an extension and all this stuff. You don't have to make that as obvious, but through whatever channels you can make it, the team can be in control of this narrative. They can remind people that like this guy has a no move. Now he's made it clear he wants an extension with any trade. He doesn't want to move twice. So the pool is very limited. Even at that, he got a good contract offer from Seattle, according to Elliot Friedman. I heard he got a good contract offer from Utah, something like 4 times 11 in that range. And I would imagine that with those kind of big extensions, the prospects that were going back from those two teams were better than what LA was offering. It was smart by Kenny Holland to kind of lay in the weeds and know that maybe this was a place that was going to be a more appealing destination than either of those two teams or Washington, which was pushing for it. When Panarin's agent tells Chris Drury on Wednesday morning, this is the only place he's going to go after he's been presented with all these offers, and you've got rumors flying around online and people are saying like, maybe they could get this guy, maybe they could get a roster player from this team. It just seemed like from the moment that they put the letter out and told Panarin they weren't extending him, he was sitting out until the minute he was traded right before 3:00 on Wednesday. It just was too much rampant speculation, and that's the world we live in right now. But I think there's ways to set the expectations to remind people that the player controls this process. The return is not going to be great. Like you said, if they turn it into something else, great, and obviously if you're going to trade Vincent Trocheck, which I now kind of firmly believe that they are when they come out of this break, the return is going to be a lot better. And it has to be a lot better because you're fighting the perception that you lost this trade in a big, big way with Panarin, which was the only outcome that it could be once you decide not to keep him. You're losing your best player. You're losing the best player in the trade by a long shot, obviously. It just got away from them. And it feels like that is a recurring theme with the Rangers with these moves. And again, Chris Drury can remake the team however he wants and move out Barclay Goodrow and Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider and Capo Caco and all these guys and bring in JT Miller. But you have to know that once you get, and Keandre Miller too, and once you get down to this point, you have to be able to win kind of the PR battle around making all these moves. The fans are getting a little weary, and you can see it in the reaction here that I think they bought in on a lot of these other moves and they're not really buying it right now. And so you need to be able to kind of massage it a little bit better than they did.
I think it's natural for everybody to look, and I got Ranger fans or Ranger buddies that are fans, and they're like, same thing Nicole said, I think when the extension came down, that's where it kind of stung a little bit more. And
yeah, 1,000%.
Don't do that to yourself as a Ranger fan. Don't walk yourself down that path, because I understand where you're coming from with that. It's apples and oranges. I mean, Nicole hit the nail on the head. Chris Drury and the Rangers made a decision that the future was not going to be with Artemi Panarin, and that's fine. Like that's his job, and to kind of project and make sure he do it his way and what he wants his team to look like. But you can't sit there and be like, well, what if the Rangers could have signed him for that? The last offer the Rangers offered was in the summertime. And I think if they offered a 2 times 11, I think it would have been denied. I just think it would have been at that time. I guess the only thing, if you want to nitpick, is it would have maybe kept contract negotiations open. But that decision was pretty much made in the summertime that they weren't going to bring Artemi Panarin back. I think the player knew that. I think the team knew that. So I don't think Chris Drury maximized things over the last 6 months as far as what the return could be. But don't be like, oh, well, we could have signed. I agree. I would love to have seen him as in the blue shirt for 2 times 11. I just don't think that that's a realistic way of looking at it, and it'll just drive you nuts.
Well, that's the way I looked at it, and that's why it drove me nuts. Like, full transparency. Well, because it made no sense from like all the reports that we had heard throughout the year, right? It was he wanted term, he wanted money, and then when you look at 2 times 11, it's okay. So that's not a lot of term, and he's making less than he already is now. So it just didn't add up. But when obviously reports came out after the fact, and now it's starting to make a little bit more sense. But I think everything that Ranger fans were led to believe is why it's so frustrating, because the result of it is like the opposite of what we had heard for the last 5 months.
Yeah, but they didn't want him to be a part of where this team's going. So like he stopped. You don't do that to yourself as a fan and be like, well, we could have like that. No, the team made a decision, and quite frankly, the player made a decision too that it wasn't going to be in New York. So I mean that again, if the contract, if it was an ongoing negotiation the last 6 months, it could be a different situation, but it wasn't. Like there was no other contract offer. So I think that I get it. But man, it'll rack your brain because you're going to sit there and because I agree. I would love to have seen Artemi Panarin in a Ranger uniform, ushering in this next youth movement and facilitating offense. But I think they made that decision. So it is going back and looking at it and trying to dissect it. I don't think it's going to make much sense.
Can I ask you, or can I make this about something else now? Because here's kind of where my concern lies. Just in days following this trade and like talking move clauses and all these different things that go into contracts. Adam Fox turns 28 in 2 weeks. If you were Adam Fox, we've obviously heard the things that have happened this year. We haven't had this conversation in a while, with the Rangers being interested in trading for Quinn Hughes, with Adam Fox not making Team USA. Is there a conversation that's happening this summer where he has 1 year left on his no move clause before it becomes a 16-team modified no trade list? He will have full control for this next year. I can't imagine at 28 years old, someone who is, got a couple years left of their prime, wanting to stick around for this with how everything is going and seeing every player that leaves here beyond happy. The Jacob Trouba clip escalated this week of him on TNT talking about how happy he is and how unhappy he was the last few years. I spoke to K'Andre Miller yesterday. He seems super happy in Carolina. Capo Caco came through. Ryan Lindgren came through. These guys seem happy in their next stops. Like, I know I'm kind of making something out of nothing, but there must be something there to discuss. Arthur, I mean, it seemed like you have something to say here.
Well, I'm just reminded that I think Rupper and I brought this up a few times already this year, and you were like, "No, there's no way." And now you're the guy.
Well, no, I think I agree.
Loudest.
I feel like after the Olympics, I think the Quinn Hughes thing, I was like, "No way." But the Olympic thing, I started to teeter a little bit. I'll admit, when the Quinn Hughes trade came up, I was like, get out of here. They were just going to add a better defenseman. Then they'd be unreal on the blue line. No brainer. But the Olympics thing made me flip my mind a little bit.
I mean, yeah, if you're Adam Fox, I think it's a conversation worth having with your agent and your family that, do you want to be a part of this? I don't know that, like you said, when it's going to switch to next summer after this, when it switches to the half the league no trade, maybe that's what Chris Drury is waiting for to see and have a little bit more team control over it, since the trading somebody with a no move doesn't seem to produce the greatest result asset wise. I mean, Adam Fox is a little different scenario than some of these other guys that he's moved, even Panarin, because he does have some term left. But yeah, I mean, I'd imagine Igor Shesterkin and his agent and his family were having that conversation. That contract is pretty immovable, but it's you're seeing an era now too, and it's happening with much more minor guys, right? Like, you see guys terminating their own deals so they can go play somewhere else because they're not getting a chance to play. I think we're in an interesting era now of players asserting their control with a no move, with a no trade, with vetoing trades, or kind of trying to dictate where they can go, even if they're on the outs with their current team. So I think and Adam Fox has has a track record, shall we say, of playing where he wants to play, kind of finessing that before he turned pro to become a Ranger through 2 different organizations. So I wouldn't be surprised if he decided to do that, because this is wearing on a lot of people. Like you said, you see the reactions, even guys that are on teams that aren't super successful. I think it's just become a difficult environment to be in day after day if you're a player. And I think that's a real shame. It's still the Rangers, man.
Mhm.
Like it should be one of the great places to play. And if there's going to be this mass exodus, if we get to a point where Adam Fox asks out and they trade Trocheck, maybe they even trade Schneider, boy, that's to think of where they were just a couple of years ago. Basically a coin flip game away from being up 3-2 against Florida in that series, and just it's hard to it's really hard to wrap your brain around how much has changed since then.
I want to make one thing clear quick, just Rupper, before you go. Like, I know people know that I have a relationship with Adam Fox. I have not talked to him about this. I want to make that clear. This is just like me speculating because, guys have been on their way out, and, Fox doesn't know an NHL without Artemi Panarin. They came in the same year, right? Like Panarin signed here that year. That was Fox's rookie year, and he's played with him for the last, 6.5, 7 years, however many years it is. And, he's a guy that plays better with skill around him. And now skill is just continuing to exit out the door. So if you're looking to make the most of these next few years of the prime of your career, it doesn't seem like it's going to be here. That's the only reason why I'm speculating and asking this question. And Rupper, I don't know if you had anything to say, but I'll kick it over to you before we go to our next voicemail.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really to add. I to answer that, I think would be just, yeah, I mean, that's a 100% he's contemplating things. I don't know what that means, what that turns into. The no move clause for the next, this year and next year certainly come into play. But is that something that's going through his head? I would bet the farm on it. Yes. Just where it goes, who knows? It might not be anything. It's still, like Arthur said, playing for the New York Rangers is a privilege. It's a place where a lot of people want to be, and Adam Fox wanted to be. So I don't think it's inevitable that Adam Fox is going to try to get out. But is the conversation happening in between the ears? I absolutely think it is.
Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying too. But let's get into our next voicemail. We got 4 more from Ranger fans. This one is from Mike.
I get annoyed over the last 48 hours of people who are trying to not defend Drury, but just say like, oh, well, it wasn't his fault. Like, he was boxed in and he had to do what he had to do with the Kings. And I get that. But like, he was the one that sent out the letter 2 months ago. He was the one that didn't negotiate with Panarin. Like, he was the one that had made a ton of terrible, terrible trades over the past 4 to 5 years of his tenure. Like, yeah, sure, maybe he didn't do all that bad in the return from Panarin, but like that shouldn't excuse the fact that like that was an objectively horrible, horrible return for one of the best players in the NHL to get a prospect and a 3rd round pick. Like, I just don't understand why anybody would be like defending this guy, and he needs to be out. He just needs to be out.
Not sure if there's a question there. Kind of the things we discussed. I don't know. You guys got anything? I got nothing from that really. No offense to Mike, obviously, but
I know that a lot of people are hung up on. Yeah, yes, it was a return. What you were thinking? Probably no, I don't think so. But I also.
But you were thinking underwhelming for sure.
I'm thinking
yeah,
underwhelming, but at the same time, like I think people get hung up in the first round picks. Oh, we didn't even get a first round pick out of it.
That was me.
I don't view it that way. I think Liam Greentree could end up being a good middle 6 player in the NHL, and if you got that out of this trade, and he's an effective player on your roster, that's a return. Considering, to go off what the caller said, I do think Chris Drury painted himself into a corner. So was the return underwhelming? Yeah, it could be viewed that way, but I don't think it's it's kind of what it is when you have a full no move clause and you've got some of the decisions that Chris Drury made. Like I'm not going to say this is like a horrific return for that situation. That situation this is, I think, should be expected.
Yeah, and this goes back to what I was saying before, that if you set the expectations, and I'm not even saying like get the word out to the insiders or tell people off the record that like don't expect a big return. I think if you just keep it quiet, you don't do the letter. You maybe decide in December before Christmas, you say we're moving this guy right now, and you put the word out to the teams, and you do all this back channeling stuff without it really getting public, or people sort of like tapping their foot and like looking at their watch and saying, when is this thing going to happen? When is this thing going to happen? I think if you just do it that way, you know, I know that Chris Drury, one of his idols is Lou Lamoriello. Lou's not doing it in public ever. If he's trading somebody in this scenario, he's getting it done as soon as possible. And I'm talking, you know, Lou in his heyday, that you just make the move, you rip the Band-Aid off, and you just do it, and you live with the consequences. And I think that, you know, the perception is important. It really is. I think you give off a better, you show you're more in control of the situation if you do it that way, to me. And I understand that it's got to be the way it's got to be, because the player has a lot of control. But I think if you keep it as quiet as you need to keep it and make it as quick as you need to make it, then you're done. And people say like, all right, he's getting down to business. Here it sort of feels like Rupper was saying, you're backed into a corner and you just kind of do what you need to do. You do what you do at the last possible second.
I just think that this is pretty clear that a decision in some way, shape, or form, maybe on both sides, was made before the season started. That was the time to make the deal.
And why not do it then? Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I think they were yesterday. But hold on, though. I think they really genuinely thought that this year was going to look different. And they were going to they wanted to take it to the last minute they could. They're bringing in Mike Sullivan. They thought last year was a one-off. And that decision, though, once the season started and you had a player and no negotiations happening, you had to see it kind of getting to this point when the team can't score at home, and you're starting to be like, oh, this might be another rough year. So yeah, it's not the perfect situation.
Yeah, I mean, like, but it starts in game 2. Like Trocheck goes down in game 2. He misses a lot of time. You know, then Fox gets, like, there's just been injuries too. And I'm not looking to make excuses for the team, but they've played 11 games fully healthy this year. You know,
I mean, that's a lot of teams too. You gotta,
yeah.
I think Rupper's right. I think you need to be able to have your finger on the pulse of the room, because you know, Chris Drury knows whatever brief talks he had with Paul Theophanos, with Panarin's agent in the summer. He knows what happened there. He knows what the status of those things are. He knows through Mike Sullivan, his preferred coach, what the feeling is in the room, whether they can get it done, whether they can become this defensive style team and still produce. And then, like you said, you do see some, a key guy go down early. Maybe it was the first Adam Fox injury too. Maybe that's the sign where you just say, okay, this is the time. We're gonna get out ahead of it, and we're gonna be decisive. And I feel like when you have these sell-offs, if you're a seller, whatever you want to brand it, retool, rebuild, the whole semantics thing, say less and do more. That's always the way to go in these scenarios. And I feel like that applies now too, coming out of the break. If you get a great offer for Braden Schneider, take it. If Adam Fox comes to you, I mean, it's not going to happen before the trade deadline. If you get any kind of offer for Alexis Lafreniere, take it, because you have undertaken this task of remaking this room, getting rid of the previous leaders as best you can. It was a little awkward to do it, and clearly there's some hurt feelings and guys not feeling like the direction of the team is as good as it should be. So dig as deep as you need to dig, and then just put it back together, because they'll have cap space, they'll have some roster spots available for some young guys, they'll have the aura still of the New York Rangers and the appeal of playing in Madison Square Garden and being in New York City in free agency and in trades. Do it and redo it. To me, like, kind of nibbling and biting at it, not a good way to go.
Arthur, just real quick before we move on, you mentioned like like Lou, I want to know from your time in this business, because it was always been, even as players, it was whatever you're hearing out on the streets as far as decisions or things that Lou's going to do, Lou Lamoriello. If you're hearing it, it's not going to happen. And so we know that Lou is a vault, but there's always two sides to a negotiation or conversations or all these things happening, whether it's through agents or the other team. Is it, from your experiences, is it the Godfather Lou that everybody, is there a level of respect where the other side is not going to let it out either? And that's not to insinuate that no one has respect for Chris Drury. It's just saying, like, how come some GMs can keep this stuff tight and some cannot?
It's incredible.
Good question.
I mean, Lou for sure. And it extends to staff. It extends to agents. There's, you know this, Rupper. You talk to agents, and I've talked to agents for 20 plus years that I've been covering hockey, and you're friendly with them, and they, it's a symbiotic relationship. They want something out of you. You want some information from them, and they are always willing to talk. And when the minute Lou came in, people that I talked to for years and years were like, I'll talk to you, I'll say hi, but I can't tell you anything about any of my clients on the team. Like, that's just the way it is. And I'm kind of like, these are people that don't even work for Lou. These are guys that are adversaries of Lou that want to get their message across. If they're unhappy with Lou, they still wouldn't do it. And to get to that level, I don't know. I didn't always hear what Lou would say to kind of strike fear into all these people's hearts, but I can imagine it was pretty strong. And if you've ever been on the other end of that Lou stare, where he's just like looking into your soul and not saying anything, I believe it. I believe that if I was an agent, especially one who was very zealously representing my clients at all times, if I got that stare, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And I think it's unique. There are some other guys that would always try to operate in secrecy. And I think you see some GMs who are happy to talk to reporters off the record, on the record, but when it comes to crunch time, they're not sharing what they're actually doing. They're putting up smoke screens. They're doing the things that people do. And I think that's also a thing that cracks me up after doing this for so long, is that you got to accept that people lie to you, whether it's a GM or an agent or a coach. Like, there's people that are trying to misdirect. That's what's going on, which when I talk about controlling the narrative, you can do it that way and not always be truthful. And it's just a fact of life. It's just part of how this business works with the media. So, I think Lou is a unicorn, and I don't know we're ever going to see that again, where everybody, even the people that are upset with him or adversarial with him, have so much respect for him that they keep it incredibly, incredibly quiet.
Does anything good come from oversharing though, if you're a GM? Like what we've seen over these past few years? Like, I haven't seen anything really good come from it.
I think misdirecting is probably the biggest thing you can get from it, where you're telling somebody something that's a rumor that may not be true, or you're trying to plant a seed that gets out and start to foment something that isn't happening, but you want to have happen. That to me is the biggest thing. And some people are really good at it. Some people are not. You have to have, just like people on our side, when we're doing this and we're talking to people, you have to have really good people skills, right? Like, you have to be able to look somebody in the eye, or kind of be a pain in the ass or whatever, and just kind of be direct. Or like I said, if you're the holder of some information, you don't want it out there, you lie and it's kind of, do the like, hey, look over there. And then you can get your business done a little bit quieter. So it's fun at times.
Building trust is big too.
Trust is fun at times, but dealing with Lou for a few years, like I did covering the Islanders, like, can drive you nuts, because it's people who you've had good relationships with, you talk to pretty freely, and they're like, can't talk to you. I can't even be seen walking by you because somebody's watching.
All right, we still have 3 more Ranger voicemails, so it's going to be a heavy Ranger episode today. Let's get to our next one from Ben.
Hey, you guys. Thank you for the awesome podcast. In regards to the team that everyone is talking about today, the Rangers lack center depth. They're talking about trading Trocheck, which would leave them with 1 NHL caliber center for next season. Where are they going to come up with centers to play for this team? That is the biggest question that I have right now. Because once Trocheck is gone, if he is gone, Laba is your second line center.
That's some Noah Laba
Is that
slander
it?
right there.
Yeah. And Mika and JT play
Well,
center.
Mika and JT.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with that call, but I do agree with like centers in the system. Johnny Bradzinski also could play center. Like he's a serviceable center.
Sam Carrick's pretty good
Yeah,
fourth
Sam
line center.
Carrick.
He's been
But, like,
fine.
Yeah, but these aren't,
I would argue. I'd argue center. Center is the one position that I feel pretty secure in, besides goaltending. Even with trading Trocheck, like I would feel pretty good going into a season with JT, Mika, and Lava.
Yeah,
you'd feel good. I mean,
well, no, I don't think the team's going to be a playoff team, but like, dude,
yeah.
go look around the league right now.
Hold
on though. You take those three centers and you put them up to the Minnesota Wild center. You took like some good teams in the league. Like those, that's a way better start than a lot of teams in the NHL. Regardless of what you think about JT Miller, Mika Zibanejad, whatever. Like that's a lot more than a lot of teams have.
Well, I think we're saying
you can
previous,
get. Sorry, Johnny. Go ahead. You can get wingers.
You said go ahead.
There's I understand that centers are going to be hard to come by, but I think the return you're going to get for Trocheck and the ability to trade for or sign a top 6, top 9 winger, a lot of I think that shouldn't be the thing that holds them back. Let's put it that way. And a healthy JT Miller as your number 2 center, let's say, you could do worse.
For sure.
Teams
I
are
agree
worse right now.
But they have no centers coming up. I think that's the thing. It's like you're getting rid of Trocheck, and then who are the young centers in the system, which are none really. So like that's the scary part, I think.
Maybe Vincent Trocheck for Marco Kasper and a package from Detroit. There you go. You got a young center in the system now.
I think that's what Ranger fans, including me, wanted if Panarin, which he was, I think was rumored to have interest in Detroit or whatever. Like I think Kasper was a guy that we wanted coming back. But let's get to our next one. This is from Marvin.
Hey guys, how are you? Couple quick ones for you. Do you buy the Rangers calling this a retool? Or is this functionally a rebuild they're afraid to label? Follow-up. How patient does Drury need to be moving forward? And has his track record earned him that patience? Personally, this Panarin trade did nothing to show he has patience because he could have dragged this thing out until the trade deadline, maximizing whatever cards he had, even if they were limited. Thanks, and keep up the incredible work. Love this show.
Thank you, Marvin. The patience with the Panarin thing, I feel differently now than I felt a couple days ago. He obviously said LA is the only place he wants to go. You kind of already showed your cards. There's no turning back. May as well just get it done, right? Like that's kind of how I feel now. In the moment, I said, okay, well maybe push them a little bit further. But if it's really the only place he's going to go, how much more can you really get? So the Panarin thing, I've changed my mind on that. But patience going forward, and whether this is a retool or rebuild, whatever you want to call it, like you're moving on from it's just one by one. They're making these moves. It's not like it's all at once. So in that sense, I guess it is a retool. If they sold everything in these next 3 weeks, like I think there's going to be more moves in the summer. I think it's hard to call it a rebuild mid-season. I think in the summer you can call it right. Am I wrong for saying that? I mean, I think going into a year you can call it a rebuild, but right now it's hard to do that.
I think you call it a rebuild if they don't rebuild. They don't look competitive going into next season. If it doesn't look like a really good NHL roster. I mean, we've seen rebuilding teams rosters, San Jose pretty much the last 5-6 years before this season, Chicago, when you've got a collection of, over the hill NHLers and 2 green young guys and nothing in between, then I think that's your roster for 26-27. Then, okay, you can label it what you want. But again, label doesn't matter. Just do what you need to do now, do what you need to do in the early part of the summer, and then rev it back up. That's how you prove that it's a retool, because they're going to be competitive again. And they should be, because even when you're looking at what they've got now, if you say, okay, Mika, JT, Laba, those are your top three centers. You've got Gabe Perreault, who's a top six winger. Got Will Cooley, who's a top six winger when he's, I think so. You probably got Lafreniere. So you have some guys that have played pretty well at the NHL level, at the pro level, in that top six. You've maybe got Adam Fox. You've got Gavrikov. That's a decent top pair. You've got a guy who's a top 5 goalie in the world when he's healthy. Doesn't seem like a total teardown to me, but I guess we'll have to see what it looks like after all is said and done.
Doesn't look like a playoff team either, though. I think
I mean,
that's kind of where
if they play the way that they did for the first month of the season defensively, and they can figure out a way to win 3-2 games and not just get shut out or deviate from the plan, they could be. Have you seen the Metro lately?
But you say that, and it's like, as good as they were playing, they had Artemi Panarin and they couldn't score. Now,
it's true.
Where are you getting your goals from? Maybe
they trade for Jordan Kyrou this summer. Maybe they trade for who knows. They have there's a lot of options on the table. I'm not saying that they're all going to come to fruition, but again, if they trade Vincent Trocheck for a decent return, whether it's Marco Kasper or somebody else, all of a sudden you're just kind of like, oh, okay, hey, it's back. The retool's back on. It's not. I understand why everybody's feeling so down in the dumps right now, but I don't. I give Chris more credit than that. I think he's made some curious moves, but I think we all forget the 2022 deadline when he turned a bunch of assets into some really good players and nearly pulled it off to get to the finals. So I think he's still got some juice, and I think he could still do it.
I don't think they would ever call it a rebuild, even if it was a rebuild. So that's first. And I agree with what Arthur just said. I mean, you still have a franchise goaltender, a franchise defenseman. It should be closer to a quicker turnaround, but you're going to have to make some good decisions. You're going to have some sort of identity in what this team is, and they're going to have to know that inside that room. I could see a world where they get back in the mix next year, but they're going to have to hit. They're going to have to hit on things, and that starts this summer.
Yeah. Personally, I don't see it. I just don't see it. But again, I think
they've broken him. Our boy is completely broken.
I am. I truly am. This is probably last night was probably the most disappointment, sadness, anger, frustration, all those words I have felt about the Rangers in my lifetime. Since I was a kid, I mean, since I could remember. I was 10 years old in 2006. They made the playoffs. They had Jágr. They got swept by the Devils. that sucked, but they were in the playoffs and they had Jaromir Jágr. I was so excited about Jágr. I don't really remember much of my fandom before then. Then 2007, they get to the playoffs again. They take on a really good Buffalo team, but you get good moments in that. And then you have Henrik Lundqvist for the next 15 years. It's, what I mean? So it's been all positivity. And then even in the years post letter, it was really only 1 year of confusion. And then they go get Panarin. They get Trouba. They get Kakko. Things turned around pretty quickly. There were things to be excited about. Right now, what are you excited about? That's I think where Ranger fans are, because as much as I love Gabe Perreault, I watched him play a ton at BC. It's not clicking right now in the NHL. He's had some good moments, but it's not like he's coming in right away and dominant. Lafreniere has not been dominant, has not shown so much excitement right now. Fox has been hurt. Shesterkin's been hurt. And you can be excited about those two next year. But you just look at the roster right now, and it's why am I buying? What is getting me to spend $180 to go to MSG to watch?
That's fair.
I
really, but MSG is great. But if you were there last
night,
I'm
just messing. I know, yeah.
But it's MSG is awesome. But I always try to find the positive spin zone, but I am having a very hard time doing that right now. I really.
It's been a long year, big boy. It's been a long year for you. You know?
Just trying to be honest with everybody. Yeah. But let's get into our last one, and let's talk about a good team in this area. This is from Adam.
Good morning, fellas. My name's Adam. big Rangers fan. Waste my night every other night watching this piss poor effort of this team. My big question for you guys is, what do they do to retool? Like, the only big name out there is going to be Jason Robertson, and if Drury can't get him, who are they going to get to really score goals? Like, there's not many options out there. So we're just going to go through a whole nother season next year. Is he just waiting to try to get McDavid? Do the same thing with Eichel, and I just don't see a way that this is going to get any better. So, yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks, guys.
I'm so happy that voicemail was played after everything I just said. That's exactly how I feel, Adam. So, I feel your pain, man. Robertson, it doesn't even sound like is gonna be out there. I think Dallas is
He's
gonna
not going to
keep him.
He's not going to get to free
so
agency, I don't think.
I have no idea. Yeah,
Can I throw
Robert,
something
please.
out there on Jason Robertson as well?
Mhm.
Just something like, I think there's, and maybe this isn't fair to say, but I think as a player, Jason Robertson is that the biggest name as far as the forwards that was left off Team USA. What world would Jason Robertson be excited to come to the team that has the coach for Team USA that didn't want him, the GM that's part of the crew that didn't want him? You know what I mean? Like, and I understand
Great point. Great point.
I understand he doesn't really have a say in the matter, because he's an RFA. But I mean, you want to have a player who wants to play for your team, and I don't think that Jason Robertson would be loving going to the New York Rangers right now.
No, couldn't agree more.
Good point.
Couldn't agree more. We bored Arthur.
No. Sorry.
You're good.
I feel like what they're going to do, and I could be totally wrong. I think that this is going to be, they're trading these guys out to get assets. The Rangers don't need 14 picks in the first 3 rounds in the next 4 years. That's not going to be their MO. They're going to get these picks. Obviously, they're going to keep their own pick and pick ideally in the top 5. Johnny, you and I were talking. The ideal guy for me is probably Tynan Lawrence. It's probably the ideal guy for you. That's the best center that's available in this draft. And if they pick 5th or 4th or wherever he might go, who knows? But they're going to have a bunch of other assets, 1st, 2nd, 3rd round picks. And I don't think the plan is to use all those in future drafts. They're gonna package those, and they're gonna look around and see who they can pry off a team. And like I said, Jordan Kyrou, maybe he's the obvious guy. There's plenty of other guys that, when I get asked about Islanders guys that they can get, I mentioned Shane Pinto last show. Like, if that's a guy that you can get out of Ottawa, I would do that in a heartbeat. Like, there's guys. I think the way to define it as a retool is to use your assets and be aggressive on the trade market and get cost-controlled younger guys with term who can score and be part of your group that's going up.
Those all sound like great things. Way easier said than done.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I think gambling on maybe Jack Eichel will be available in free agency, or maybe Connor, like free agency when the cap's going up by $20 million over the next 3 years. Like, free agency is a fucking pipe dream, man. Like, you cannot rely on it the way that the Rangers used to get good. It's just not the way it's going to work.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Well said. That's it for the Rangers for today. Let's turn it up a notch. Let's talk about those New York Islanders. What a big week, huh? I mean, that goal last night, Bo Horvat scored, beautiful, obviously. Mistakes on the Devils' end, but you got to feel good right now if you're the New York Islanders. Patrick Waugh, some electric quotes in the postgame. And I think I saw Stefan Rasner say he's not even going to open his computer for the next 12 days. He's totally relaxing with how good his team has played. And it's just, it's just all good vibes over there on Long Island. And they've swept the Devils and the Rangers this year. Has any team?
That's crazy.
Can you remember that ever happening between these 3 teams?
I think I saw something online. A stats person say it's the first time it's ever happened, or something. And obviously,
with this Islander group.
That's right.
But that's fully on
its head. Yeah.
That's an indictment, no matter whom it happened to. If the Rangers swept the Devils and Islanders, or the Devils did that to the Rangers Islanders, like, it's an indictment on those other teams. Just just from pure, it doesn't even matter where your team is at in the timeline of being contenders or competitive or whatever, just in the pride factor. You can't lose every fucking game in this region against all the what? Like, you never see that, man. It's wild, but you got to give and tip your cap to the New York Islanders. They took advantage of two lifeless teams this year.
Yeah.
But even with that, Rupper, like fans are going to defend them. Like, I know Ranger fans are defending themselves. Devils fans might defend themselves too. I haven't really seen it, but it's like, oh, congrats, you beat a team that's given up. I mean, if you're an Islander fan, can you imagine a better scenario where your rivals are miserable and you're beating them every game? You
go look at the New York Islanders, and let's say when I came in the league in 02, 03, like, give me like the Islanders maybe like 05, 06 through 2010. Those are shitty teams. They beat us though. They would beat us. You know what I mean? They weren't like what? Those are shitty teams. My point in this is, you could be a shitty team and care about playing against your rival and finding a way to win, just based off of pride, right? And we didn't see that this year. But maybe it's more the Islanders. Maybe it's more the Islanders have that. I don't know which it is. It's a little bit of the chicken and the egg. The fact of the matter is, we don't see this, and we shouldn't see this, but it happened this year.
You're losing to a team with Blake Como as the best forward,
right? Yeah.
Shout out Blake Como. Shout out Blake Como.
I mean, it set the stage too for what was it, 07? The Wade Dublowitz show and the shootout win that got them into the playoffs. Like, you never know. You lay the foundation and you get people revved up, and then someday it's going to matter real soon.
Yeah.
I will say this as a Ranger fan, lifelong Ranger fan, I think I honestly, like, I know it can be a little bit dramatic and exaggerate from time to time. I think I'm somewhat more level-headed than people give me credit for. Islander fans, talk your shit, man, because you are not going to get any pushback from me. You might get pushback from other people. You might have Ranger fans that just want to come at you in any sort of way, but I have never in my life had nothing to say to an Islander fan who wants to talk shit to me. I have no comeback.
Wouldn't that team, though, that team coming in this year, I don't want to speak for you guys, but for me, they were the team I had the least expectations on.
1,000%.
Three, absolutely.
Right?
1,000%.
100%. Yep. You know, it's whatever. I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah, very, very. And I think it takes away credit from them when you say the Rangers and Devils have folded. But, like, they shouldn't have any credit taken away from them. They have continuously found ways to win. And I think it's a perfect lead into our first voicemail. Chris from Hicksville, the NL King.
All right.
To lead us off here.
Hey, guys. Chris from Hicksville. I got 3 positive things on the Islanders heading into the break. And Rupper, as a former player, I'd really like to hear your opinion on this. Only Horvat and Palat are going to the Olympics, so the rest are going to get that 10-day vacation and then come back for a little over a week and a half, and they're also going to get some practice time in. So a 3-week break for almost the whole team. That's number 1. Number 2, they only have 2 real road trips left. They have a 4-gamer where they go to California, play the 3 California teams, and then on the way back, stop in St. Louis. And then they have a 3-gamer where they go to Canada and play Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. All other road games are either 1-offs or 2-offs, and they're all kind of local. And then finally, 10 of their last 12 games are at home. I love the show. I try to promote it whenever I can. And as you know or don't know, Hicksville was the home of the Islanders' very first practice facility in Kaniak Park. All right, guys, have a great day and a great weekend.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. And we see all the tweets. And Vic, he picked your voicemail today. Yeah, credit to Vic for picking it. Rupper, he wants to hear from you, so.
Well, I mean, he was just kind of stating where the team's at, kind of coming out of this, and what was the exact question though? What does he want to hear from you? Just as far as going into this break and kind of managing that? Yeah.
What would you be doing right now if you were on the Islanders? How would you be spending your break? How would you feel?
Completely unplug it. And here's the thing: it's like just feeling good going into a break, no matter how long it is. I've been on Olympic breaks. I've been on All-Star Weekend breaks, whatever it is. I mean, remember the bye weeks, in some regards, you'd have that. But it was winning or feeling good about yourself is awesome because literally you can just unplug. Like you don't want to think about it, and you want to treat your body a little bit. Of course, you're not going to let it all hang out, but hey, go have a couple drinks on the beach. Like start being a human being. It's amazing what it'll do for your mind. You'll have time on the back end when you have organized practices of getting back into it. So, that doesn't take too long to kind of get your body right back in the flow, but it's enormous. So to go into the break like they have, it's awesome because you can have teams, there could be teams that are in better position in the playoffs than them, but just not feeling great, not playing great. And it just gets tough to be able to mentally unplug like that because we're wired a certain way. Like I'm not going to speak for those players, but like the Colorado Avalanche might not be feeling very good about their game right now. And as a team and then as individual players, like it just pops in your mind randomly on the break. And then you think about it and your mind kind of wanders. Like, not that everything's perfect with the Islanders, but I think they should be proud of where they're at and be rejuvenated from a little bit of a time off. And to have your coach kind of say those things that you said, Johnny,
Yeah.
he isn't opening it. It's like, it almost gives you like, hey boys, we got the green light to like be an actual normal human being for the next couple of weeks.
And guess what? Like after like 4 or 5 days where you like really kind of like, let off some steam, you hang out, you relax, you're itching to get back out there.
Yeah.
And when you're
get
not
going.
feeling good, it's like, oh fuck, I only have like 3 days left to break. This
Yeah.
sucks. Like that's kind of the opposite feeling. Like I remember in college, my senior year, I did not want to go back to school at all. We sucked. We like going to the rink was the last place I wanted to be. My freshman year, sophomore year, I was like, let's get back to school. Like I want to get back on the, like when things are going good, the only place you want to be is on the ice. And when things aren't going good, the last place you want to be is on the ice. So like the Islanders right now, I expect them to hit the ground running here in the second half. Like they'll be rejuvenated, they'll be refreshed. And, Barzal and Schaefer, I mean, for Matthew Schaefer, this break couldn't have been better. Like, let this kid relax a little bit.
For him and Ilya Sorokin. Those are your two guys that benefit the most of not having to go over to the Milan games. So obviously Sorokin doesn't have that option, but this is, everybody's talked about it, but it is an absolute blessing in disguise for Islander fans that Matthew Schaefer is staying back.
For sure. Next voicemail. We have one more, I think, from an Islanders fan. This is from Ariel.
Hey guys, quick question. From a coaching perspective, how do you explain the difference in leash length between Jonathan Drouin and a player like Duclair, who seems to lose ice time quickly after a few mistakes, but Jonathan Drouin can, be somewhat of a liability and not score any goals or even chip in offensively and still get rolled out in the top six, still get power play time and not really be held accountable for any of the mistakes he makes? Thanks.
That's tough. I don't. Arthur, you want to try to take that one?
My first thought was that like coaches just genuinely have favorites, guys they like and guys they don't like.
But I think in this day and age too, it's they've got all the metrics they can see, we can see too, when I look on ClearSight, Drouin is holding his own chance wise when he's on the ice. He's made some glaring mistakes and he has flubbed some grade A's.
Oh, that one against Pittsburgh.
Big time. I mean, he's even for him, who's not a big scorer, he's in a huge funk. I think it's up to 34 games now since he had a goal. But I think there's, and Duclair was a guy that was brought in at the beginning of Patrick Waugh's tenure and a guy he knows very well from having coached him in junior. Drouin is a guy I think Patrick Waugh also knows well from coaching against him in junior. And, Matthew Darche knows him from, he was in the Tampa organization, I think overlapped a little bit when Darche was there. So I think, you come in with a little bit of like you said, some favoritism for sure. And I think Drouin's a little bit more of a versatile player. And I think Duclair, the knock on him throughout his career is that when he's not scoring, he's not doing enough else. He's not moving his feet. He did get benched in the game for a bad back check the other night. I think it was against Washington. Didn't play the rest of that one and then ended up being scratched. So, I kind of thought Cal Ritchie, since he came back, a bit of a surprise that they thought he was going to be out until after the break, and Duclair was the odd man out. Drouin moved to the wing. I think when they come out of the break, obviously adding a guy that we've been talking about for weeks would alleviate a lot of those concerns and probably put Drouin in street clothes if they could add a top 6 winger. But failing that, I think Patrick Waugh, we don't know what goes on at practices. We don't know what goes on in the video room. We can only look at the numbers and look at the games and say, how could they do this? So you rely on the coaches to have more information than we have in making these decisions. But it is a little curious that when Duclair gets hot, he can produce. And when Drouin gets hot or is still doing this, playing at a capable level in other areas, not scoring. And it's a team that doesn't score enough goals as it is. So I'd be interested to see if there is an appetite to adjust Drouin's minutes or put him in a different spot, or maybe sit him out a game or two when we come out of the break, because it is pretty glaring. And the mistake he made on the goal in the third period against Pittsburgh was a bad one. And yes, you would have seen Duclair, maybe somebody else, punished a little bit harsher than they punished Drouin. I think.
I think he's used. We've seen Drouin on power play 1, power play 2, so he's used on special teams, and that's not really Anthony Duclair. So to your point too, I think Anthony Duclair, for me, he has the ability, and we've seen in his career, to be a game breaker, but he doesn't really do that much when he's not breaking the game. You know what I mean? Like, he's got individual ability to just grab a puck and just go down the ice and score. Doesn't necessarily facilitate plays. He's not on special teams. So, but it also all comes down to, like every player, you got to earn the trust of your coach. And for whatever reason, Jonathan Drouin has a little bit more of that trust, I believe. And you could tell by the way they're used.
I think it's also sometimes the way guys respond to mistakes, right? Like, there are players who, if they cough the puck up, it ends up in their own net. Like, they dwell on it for the rest of the game, and you kind of like lose their sense of focus, and like they got to snap back into it. Other guys, I'm not speaking on just Drouin and Duclair specifically. I'm saying in general, like, other guys can just make a mistake and kind of snap right out of it, and it's nothing, And I don't know in this case if either guy is one of those, but that could be a possibility as well, that maybe Duclair, if he makes a mistake, like usually, doesn't find his way out of it. And Drouin, if he makes a mistake, you still know the effort you're getting in the next shift. I don't know. I don't know if that's like a good example to use for those two, because it's not something I've seen or I've noticed, but definitely a great question from Ariel. So any other thoughts on the Isles, guys, before we go into Devils quickly?
Back down.
All right, Rupper, I think you should just start this one before we play any voicemails for the Devils, because I know you wanted to talk about Nico and his post-game comments.
Yeah, I mean, it's another tough loss. You get that Islanders game. I think Sheldon Keefe brought up some good points. Like, the last couple games, like holding the opponent to very few shots and opportunities early, or even through 2 periods, has been really good for the team. But there's just the story all season long, unable to finish on the offensive side. So, but I just wanted to bring this up because I think it's refreshing to hear. It's unfortunate that it happened with Nico, but post game, he took ownership to the degree where we lost the game because of one play, and he's referring to himself on the Bo Horvat goal. So I just think that this is a team that all season long, Nico has led, and this is the play right here. So it's center on center, D zone, like that's what it is. And he's going on his backhand, so his natural turn is going to get him in a compromising position, but he understands he can't let Bo Horvat by like that. And Kovacevic could have probably it took a funny bounce on him, so I'm not going to blame him, but it was just a free pass for Horvat to go to the net. So, but post game, having him do that, and take that on, this is, again, I don't question Nico Hischier and his leadership. I don't think many fans do. I love him. I think that is a guy you build around. I mean, we've seen him fight for this team this year. We've seen him getting all these clutch goals and moments, and asked to do a lot of stuff with some of the injuries they've had. So I love that. I think the team needs more of that across the board. But I just wanted to give him a little bit of a shout out because these last 2 games for me really put the nail in the coffin on the Devils, and you could tell by him kind of speaking, he was upset, and he was upset at himself. And I think that's what
Yeah.
a leader does, takes some accountability.
I didn't see much of Devils Twitter last night. Were they reacting, blaming Kovacevic? Like, was he almost I feel like people maybe would blame Kovacevic there, but like
I didn't.
Rupper, I mean,
Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't
center
see
on
any of
center
that.
is like
That's
the one thing you're taught. Yeah.
That's the one thing. And you go, even in that position, and Nico knows this. This is nothing. I mean, you're talking about a very smart player, but in that position, when you're drawing it back to your goal, and so he doesn't want to go on his forehand side. Got Bo Horvat on his strong side. So you want to go strong on strong. That's fine, but then there has to be that little conversation, like, "Hey, I'm drawing this back towards the net." So you want to tell the goaltender to be ready, but also the defenseman. I might need you to take this a little differently because when he's turning and even just steps, he's off centered a little bit where that pathway is there for Bo Horvat. And give credit to Horvat. He sniffed it out and he jumped it. And it just took a funny bounce on Kovacevic. So, no, I don't know if people were giving the defenseman a hard time on it or not. But the bigger thing is it was a pretty big turning point in the game, and Nico owned it.
Such an important detail, though. Like, I remember like my first college video session, like center on center was like the first thing Coach Carvel taught us. He was like, neutral zone, center on center, defensive zone, center on center, obviously offensive zone. You kind of do your own thing. You're playing offense, but if you are a center taking a face off and you let the other center get on the offensive side of you, that can just change the whole outcome of the shift. So if you aren't necessarily a X's and O's person, someone to watch for, like in the D zone, if you're like an Islander fan and Horvat's taking a D zone face off, like watch if he stays with his center, like within 4 or 5 seconds after the puck is dropped to stay on your guy. And like, honestly, that goes back to the Four Nations Connor McDavid goal. We talk about center on center, like, start to the face off. Matthews kind of loses McDavid. I know a lot of blame is on Fox. Like, did Fox go behind the net? I don't.
Yeah,
I think he went behind the net, right?
He started to, and yeah,
but I think most people would say that's center on center, right?
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of the time. I don't know. That's a little off topic, I guess. That's all the Islander voicemails. Or excuse me, sorry, we did the Islander. I'm so messed up in the head right now. We're talking Devils, so let's get into a Devils voicemail. This is from Anonymous.
Hey guys, just calling in after that awful Devils game last night. Just wanted to see your guys' thoughts on what the Devils should do next. Seems like everyone online, at least, has given up on the score. But I feel like ever since Keefe has come in, they just haven't been able to score. Under Lindy, they were perfectly fine. They looked exciting. They played the fast game. Now it's hard to even watch a Devils game. Is that on Keefe? Is it more of like the supporting cast around the core that Fitzgerald has put together? And where do you go from here? Do you blow up the core? I personally don't think so. I think it's more of just getting players that can play faster, more skilled. Like the guys that Fitzgerald has gone out and got, just obviously haven't been doing that. So just wanted to see where you guys think they should go from here.
It's funny. I'm just looking back, like when they were 12-4-1, they were scoring plenty of goals. Like they weren't playing the way that they've been playing lately. And I think it's purely strip it down, just try to win a hockey game and play a good defensive style, because they've gotten so far from the way that they were playing the first month and a half of the season that I can't blame Keefe for just basically tearing up his notes and saying, just don't let them get 10 high danger chances a game. Let's start there. Let's start by playing good defense, trying to score some goals. I don't know that it's been this systemic. I see a lot of the Devils writers, and they got a lot of evidence to back it up. You see a lot, they're citing a lot of data and everything to show that they've changed the style that they've played in the last couple of years from the way that they played under Lindy. And I wasn't paying super close attention to the Devils when Lindy was there, but I sure do remember Devils fans were really, really unhappy with Lindy Ruff as the coach of this team. So I'm not.
They were booing him after game 2. Like, remember at the beginning of the season, they were booing Lindy Ruff.
Yeah. So I think that's a little selective memory.
But they apologized. They said sorry. They cheered sorry, Lindy.
And then Lindy said he'd have a beer with them, if you remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just kind of feel like Yeah, you look at the way that the team has played lately, and they're just a mentally broken group. And as an NHL coach, you know, we have this debate a lot. And Rupper, and even Johnny at the college level, I understand younger guys, different range of skills, but like Rupper, you can speak to this, that people, regular fans, and even some media people who never played, think that the job of an NHL coach is to kick ass and motivate everybody to play. And it is about, in my experience, about 10th on the list of requirements of an NHL coach. The basic requirements are provide the system, make, consistency in your effort and your practice habits and your playing habits. All these other detail-oriented things come before kicking guys in the ass and making sure that they're ready to play. And I feel like we are at that point now with the Devils, because this season has, in the last 3.5 months, has just fallen into a complete abyss. Like, it's black hole time with this team. Like, it's incredible to see the way it's fallen apart. So I don't know that they've turned into a team that wants to win 1-0 games. They've turned into a team that needs to put one basic fundamental building block on the positive side and start building it back up. And obviously it's too late for that now, but that's just the way I see it. I don't see a team that is coached a different way than they were early in the season, or managed a different way. It's just everything's turned to shit, basically. And that's just how you kind of bring it back. I don't know how you feel about that, Rupper, when the topic of what an NHL coach's job is and how it changes throughout a year. It just feels like they just don't win. Like they're broken.
Yeah, I think their build is a little bit broken. I do believe in the core still. I think you got to be kind of pot committed to that. I think it needs to be complemented better. And I think there needs to be a little adjustment in the core. And I think you need to sit down with the core and have a little come into Jesus moment. Like, I just feel like that conversation has to be had. And but as far as the coach, I mean, you go back to Lindy Ruff, and I'm not trying to discredit him because he's been incredible what's been going on in Buffalo here, but there was no expectations on that team. That team came out of nowhere. So now there's been placed expectations. Maybe players think that they've arrived or whatever the situation is. And it's hard, man. This is a hard league. So you got to find a way to get more out of yourself. And I don't, that's Sheldon Keefe's job to put players in positions to succeed, but and to get more out of them. But it's, I can't, there's nothing that I've seen to think that, oh, Sheldon Keefe's systems and styles are not suitable for this hockey club. I'm not inside that room, so I don't know how he connects with the players. So that you'd have to ask the players that, and you're probably not going to get an answer. But that would be the only thing, the unknown that would be big in this is, do guys respond to him? Does he have that connection? Can he squeeze his group? I don't know the answer to that, but there's nothing that I watch and I say, oh, Sheldon Keefe can't coach this team. I like a lot of the things he does. So yeah, but I think this core, you're pot committed in this core anyways. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I do believe in this core. But this team needs certain other things out of their core, but they need to complement them even better.
To me, it's also like just coming up with a game plan and executing it. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, and this is just, again, from a college level, and we played 35 games, so you're not playing 82. It's a lot of hockey these guys play, but every game that I played in college when I was coached well, and I always say Coach Carvel was the best coach X's and O's I ever had, because he was so prepared for what was coming at us. And we knew exactly what to do in situations, and we were prepared for what we were going to see from the other team. So, like, it's as simple as, if you're playing against a team that has a goalie that can come out and play the puck, that when you chip the puck in, you got to chip it soft into the corner, because you don't want to rim it, because the goalie is going to come out and play it. And then it makes it so much harder to get in a forecheck, because they basically have an extra guy back there. That's like a simple little detail that they got to know going into a game. Like the Rangers last night, I know I'm making this about the Rangers, but I don't know what the game plan was against Carolina. Obviously, Carolina is a high shot volume team, but even the Rangers weren't really dumping the puck in and couldn't get to a forecheck. They were trying to make plays over the blue line, and Carolina is not a team you're going to outskate. So I question what the game plan was last night. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's finding formulas to beat your opponents and using your strengths to go out and beat them. And I don't know, like, what is the Devils' strength right now, though? You know, what formulas are they using to
So
go beat their opponents?
I think individually too, like, and not to go back to Lou, I can only experience from my or talk from my experience, and I'm not saying this is what has to happen. It felt like it worked with the team I was on, but I remember distinctively Lou did this multiple times with different teams, not multiple times in the season, but and this all goes back to what we were talking about when we were talking about Lou Lamoriello before too, is he had a cachet to him. He has a cachet about him, and he can carry a room. And he would come into the room, and I remember we'd have our entire team sitting in there, and he'd walk and he'd say what he needed to say. He went around the room, and he said he just to every single guy, and he had to say it in front of the team, basically what your role is on this team and what this team expects out of you. And it sounds elementary, it sounds dumb, it's whatever, but when you state to everybody what is expected out of you for the hockey club, because in our minds, I could do more, I could do more, I could do more. Like that's what we want. But no. It's not about what you're doing more. Do you know what your job is here?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what your job is on this roster? This is what we need from you. Anything after that's icing on the cake. Lou would establish those things. So when it would come to me, it was very plain and simple. I'm a big body that has to play big. I have to hold on to pucks, and I cannot get scored against. That's my job. If I said to him, well, I secondary scoring, a chip in once in a while, he would have stopped me right in that moment and said, nope, that's not it. This is what, and I'm saying it in front of all of you guys. So we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Look at this roster to me, and this can go across a lot of NHL teams. Do you think everybody knows exactly what their role is on this team and what this team needs? I mean, I'm going to use one example. Paul Cotter, love his game. Love his game. I think he's inconsistent. I think he gets in his own head sometimes, but we see this guy play a heavy game sometimes. And I'm like, oh man, they need that because this is not an overly big team. But we're also see him get bumped up. And the way he started this season, he's playing on a top line. He's getting used in these situations. Does he understand what this team needs as a baseline every single night? Like every single night. And I think that comes from a coach can say that. That's got to come from the guy who signed you to your deals, your GM, to come and establish that baseline. So I mean, that's the biggest thing. You know, you've got a bunch of players that are trying to score goals, and that's the name of the game. And this team stinks at scoring goals. But can you bring something that we know you can bring every single night? They lack that in a big way.
Yeah. No, it's well said, Rupper. Running low on time here, so we have a couple more voicemails. We're only gonna have time for one more. So let's play this last one. Not sure who it's from, but Vic, if you can cue that up. This is from J.O. or Joe.
What's going on, Mike, Johnny, and Arthur? This is Joe from New Jersey. I'm a Devil fan, but just a big hockey fan in general. I've loved the concept of this podcast. I haven't missed an episode yet, so cheers.
Thank you.
These voicemails have largely turned into therapy sessions for Devils and Rangers fans, and I want to vent a little bit too. I hate to tell people how to be fans these days, but I'm just kind of sick of how negative people have gotten. I think fandom has largely turned into people just trying to have the best hot takes, and they want to be proven right more than they actually want to cheer on their favorite team and players. I don't understand why so many Ranger fans marched Trouba and Kreider out of town. These were heart and soul Rangers during a really impressive run for the team. And Andre Palat, too. He made the biggest play in Devils hockey of the past decade in Game 7 against the Rangers. I personally would have kept paying him $6 million of my own money just for that play, but Devils fans just quit on him. It frustrates me, especially seeing how hard these Devils play. It hurts to see the fans boo them off the ice pretty much every night at this point. This team has a lot of pride, but they just can't score at 5-on-5 to like an almost historic degree. I'm chalking that up to a lack of practice time because of the condensed schedule. His team had a lot of lineup turnover over the season with all the injuries, and I think at that point that's really hurting them. Curious to hear what you guys think. And again, cheers. The league is great when these three teams are humming, and hopefully we get to that one of these years.
Thanks, Joe. I think the last thing we should talk about, which we haven't really talked about yet, it's also an unhealthy Jack again this year. And Rupper, I know that was something we kind of discussed on last episode. Arthur, not sure if you want to discuss it either, but last night Jack doesn't play a game before the Olympics, and Jack has not really been healthy since he hurt his hand. Like we've seen him in the cast he's wearing, and hasn't really been scoring since he came back. It's just, I agree with a lot of things Joe just said, but I feel like Jack is the biggest thing here this year with the Devils that went wrong.
Well, I'll just jump in before Rupper does and keep it positive and say I'm looking forward to seeing him play in the Olympics. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, me too.
I know Rupper is too.
Was that a little sarcasm? Sarcasm? I don't know why I said sarcasm. Was that
just a little bit?
Yeah.
Very little. No, I am excited to see in the Olympics.
Trying to get me going right now.
A little bit, probably.
A little bit.
Maybe.
Arthur just pulled the pin, threw a grenade down my throat right now. No, I am. Listen, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it again. I am the biggest Jack guy there is. I mean, you kidding me? Like I'm the one I got crushed for saying I'd take him over Austin Matthews when we did our top center rankings, our top 50 in the NHL, whatever. Jack is an absolute amazing hockey player. I like the attitude he brings. Here's where this franchise is at, though. You need to lead every single day. And leaders do that. And you have a letter on your sweater, and there's guys who don't have letters on their sweater that need to lead. You need to lead every single day. Sometimes that's saying something. Sometimes it's just doing something and being a certain way. And there's certain moments where the needle moves more. And all I want to say is this. We saw something happen. Jack is dinged up, and that's a whole other conversation. It's just it just feels like, and it's frustrating, and you don't want to put blame on it when every time this team needs him, he's not available. And I don't. It's bad luck. It's a lot of different things. But I just want some fans to hear me out here for a moment. I'm going to take you inside of the training room and an NHL locker room. When you are day to day, and you don't get doctor's clearance, that's protection to the player. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. If a player wants to play and is listed as day to day, especially with a lower body injury, and that player wants to play, he's playing in that hockey game without a doubt. I've seen it a million times, whether it's a player like me or if it's a superstar, even more so for a superstar. If he went to the team and the team doctors and said, my team needs me tonight, I have to play. I don't even know if that's just on the power play. He's playing in that hockey game. I'll take that to the grave. That's 100%. And the fact that this was the way it played out in the last few days, I think there's trying to run some interference on that for this point. And then the fact that you're going to the Olympics, I don't love the message. And meanwhile, let me take you through the scenario that happened on Tuesday. I made a phone call down there to the Florida Panthers. And the Florida Panthers are in the same mix. They were in a must-win. They're playing against the Boston Bruins on Tuesday, Tampa Bay Lightning on Thursday. They had to win both games, I believe, in regulation to stay alive. I think they're done now, too, because they lost to Tampa last night. I think the Devils are done because they lost in regulation the last two games. Brad Marchand, after pregame skate, Paul Maurice said he's out tonight. Something transpired. Something happened. But Paul Maurice in that same pregame speech, post morning skate press conference he stated time and time again, we have to win this game tonight. Must win. It's a big urgency to win that game. Around 5:00, Brad Marchand's mysteriously playing in this game. This guy's going to the Olympics. He put that to the side, didn't care, went in there because he's going to be there for the boys. And he played 10 minutes in the game. He ends up getting the shootout winner. And for me, I'm like, that's what's different about that team. You could say whatever you want to say. That's what's different about that Florida Panthers. That's leadership. So I don't like the fact you need something out of the ordinary. This team needs something different. And that would have spoken so much to this team and just shown that this team's got something different in its leadership, guys. I think it was a missed opportunity. I really do. And the fact that you're going to come out and say, he'll be good to go in the Olympics too. That pisses me off if I'm on that team. You know what I mean? Like it could have just, dress him and put him on the power play. That could have made a difference. That would have made a difference in these two games 100%, especially in this Islander game yesterday. So I don't know, man. I think it was a missed opportunity. I don't buy it. I see it across the league in some of these situations. I think your NHL team needs to be more of a priority, and I don't think it was. And don't buy he was not cleared. That is a farce.
Strong words. Strong words, Rupper.
Hey. Arthur, it's all your fault. All your fault, Arthur.
Hey.
Clip it so that it looks like I said it, okay?
I think that's all we got for today, though, guys. I'm not sure. I'll tweet something out, or we'll figure out what we're gonna do next week. Maybe a Friday episode or something, but probably not Monday or Tuesday, with there being no games in between. So you won't be hearing from us. Just keep an eye on our Twitter pages for any updates. As always, our show is presented by Novig. The future of sports betting on Novig. You play against other real users, not the house, and it's the only commission-free exchange, so you keep every dollar you win. You'll get better odds than traditional sports books, meaning you're 10 times more likely to win in the long run. Choose the best odds or offer your own. Trade Novig coins for fun or Novig cash to win real prizes. Sign up with code DailyFaceoff in all caps to get $50 in Novig coins when you spend $5 on your first purchase. Available in most states. Must be 21 or older to play with no purchase necessary. Reminder, we do have a live event on February 19th, so come hang out with us in New York City. Still trying to lock in a guest, but we have a feeling it might be an Islander type guest. You have something to say, Ripper, or no?
No.
Oh, I thought, okay. It looked like you had something to say. But with that, everyone have a great weekend. We love you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks to our producer, Vic, and the voicemails. Hope you enjoyed that video, and if you want to see some more Tri-State hockey content, don't forget to leave a like and comment on the video below, and also subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel.